Bravo young black boy saves hunter's daughter from a lion attack. A story that will leave you speechless. What happens in the middle changes everything, and we'd love to know from which city you're watching this video. Leave it in the comments, subscribe to our channel, leave a like, and activate the bell so you won't miss any of our content. In an isolated village on the edge of the African savanna, where beauty and danger coexist, lives Amara, the fearless daughter of Akil, the greatest hunter in the region. At 17 years old, Amara was already known for her daring, a trait inherited from her father, but also for her curiosity that often drove her to explore the surrounding forest. Her father, Akil, was absent on a long expedition to hunt down a mysterious predator terrorizing neighboring villages. In his absence, Amara was under the watchful eye of the community, but no one could truly prevent her from following her adventurous spirit. That morning, the sky was clear, and the heat of the savannah was already intensifying. Amara decided to venture to an old well, a spot known to attract many animals. However, what began as a peaceful walk quickly turned into something that would change her life forever. Upon reaching the well, she noticed deep footprints in the dry earth, much larger than those she was accustomed to seeing. Her curiosity, often getting her into trouble, led her to follow the tracks, unaware that she was being watched. Without warning, a powerful roar echoed through the clearing, making Amara's heart stop for a moment. When she turned, she saw a majestic lion, its golden mane gleaming under the scorching sun, advancing toward her. Paralyzed by fear, she couldn't even scream. Just as the lion was about to strike, a figure came running. Kofi, a boy from the village, known for his agility and bravery, appeared with an improvised spear. In a swift move, he placed himself between Amara and the lion, delivering precise blows that forced the predator to retreat. The lion hesitated for a moment, but Kofi faced it with unwavering determination. With one last warning roar, the lion withdrew, disappearing into the dense vegetation. Breathing heavily, Kofi turned to Amara, who was still trembling. He helped her up, and the two began walking back to the village. However, something about the clearing left them uneasy. That wasn't normal lion behavior. There was something more behind the attack, something they couldn't yet comprehend. After surviving the lion attack, Amara and Kofi walked back to the village in silence. The forest around them seemed to have come alive after the attack. The branches swayed with a gentle breeze, but everything seemed to be watching their every step. Amara, still trembling slightly, tried to regain her composure, but the weight of what had just happened began to settle in her mind. Kofi, beside her, remained vigilant, constantly looking around as if expecting the lion to return at any moment. As they reached the edge of the village, curious onlookers appeared. Children, who had been playing near the huts, ran to their mothers upon seeing Amara and Kofi. Within minutes, a small crowd gathered around them. The news that the lion, the most feared predator of the savannah, had nearly attacked Amara spread quickly. The villagers looked at the two with admiration and fear, whispering among themselves. After all, a lion attack in broad daylight was unusual, a sign that something greater was coming. Amara's mother, Layla, a woman with a strong demeanor but eyes that revealed deep concern, rushed to embrace her daughter. The relief on her face was evident, but it was soon replaced by an expression of alertness. She knew that while Amara was safe for now, something terrible was in motion. The lion's attack wasn't an isolated incident, and the signs that the savannah was changing had been accumulating for some time. Kofi was taken to the center of the village, where the elders awaited. Among them was Kato, the oldest and wisest in the community, whose authority came from both his deep knowledge of the village's history and his connection to the forest spirits. Kato examined Kofi from head to toe with a scrutinizing gaze, as if trying to read his soul. Kofi's bravery in facing the lion hadn't gone unnoticed, and the young man was now treated with respect by all. For a boy who had until then been seen as just another among the village youths, this was a sudden change. But Kofi remained humble and silent, not letting pride get the better of him. Kato asked everyone to gather around the bonfire at the center of the village, a tradition marking important moments in the community's life. There, around the crackling flames, stories were told, advice was given, and the most serious decisions were made. Kofi, standing beside Amara, felt the weight of the moment. He knew something was about to be revealed, something he and Amara might not be ready to hear. With everyone gathered, Cato began to speak. His voice, deep and full of wisdom, echoed among the attentive villagers. He spoke of the ancient spirits that inhabited the savannah and the stories that had long circulated among the most experienced hunters. According to Cato, the lion that attacked Amara wasn't just an animal. It was, in fact, a messenger from the forest spirits, a warning that the balance between humans and nature was being disturbed. The forest, Cato explained, was much more than just a habitat for animals. It was sacred, a place where the forces of nature and spirit intertwined. Whenever a hunter entered the forest, he knew he was invading the territory of beings much older and more powerful than humans. Animal attacks, though rare, were often a sign that something great was about to happen. And the fact that a lion, one of the savannah's most revered predators, had chosen to attack Amara indicated that this something was directly related to her. Amara, listening attentively, felt a mix of fear and curiosity. The idea that the lion wasn't simply hunting but sending a message unsettled her. She looked at Kofi, who seemed equally intrigued but determined to protect his friend. Cato, noticing the tension on their faces, smiled slightly, but it wasn't a reassuring smile. It was a smile that acknowledged the weight of the responsibility being placed upon them. Then, Cato revealed a part of the story that not everyone knew. He spoke of a mysterious valley deep within the forest, a place where even the most experienced hunters rarely ventured. This valley, according to legend, was inhabited by a guardian spirit, a golden lion that watched over the earth's secrets. Few men dared seek out the valley, and even fewer returned to tell the tale. Cato believed that Akil, Amara's father, was searching for this place. The mention of Akil's name made Amara's heart tighten. Her father, a revered hunter, had been on an expedition for months, and no word had been received since. Now, knowing that he might be involved in something much greater than a simple hunt, Amara felt compelled to act. She knew she needed to find her father, but the path before her was far more dangerous and full of mysteries than she had imagined. As night fell over the village, Amara and Kofi sat in silence, watching the fire slowly die down. They knew their lives would never be the same. The lion's attack had been just the beginning. The real challenge was yet to come, and now they would need all the courage and wisdom to face it. Days passed since the attack, and Akil's absence weighed heavily on Amara. Her father, who should have returned from his expedition, had sent no word. Amara's anxieties grew, and Kofi, feeling an increasing responsibility to protect her, promised to help find answers. They decided to go to Amara's house, hoping to find clues about her father's whereabouts. Amara's house was simple, but there was one room she rarely entered, the room where Akil kept his weapons and hunting notes. With reluctance, Amara decided to explore the space. There, among old maps and detailed records of previous expeditions, she found an incomplete map of the savannah, with an area marked by symbols she didn't recognize. Kofi, upon seeing the map, was intrigued. He knew that the area, a forgotten valley deep in the forest, was known to the most experienced hunters as forbidden territory. It was said that those who ventured into that place rarely returned to tell the tale. Determined to find Akil, Amara and Kofi decided to prepare for a new journey into the valley. However, before they could depart, a mysterious figure appeared in the village. It was a tall man with a somber expression, claiming to be a wandering hunter. His name was Mosi, and he seemed to know more about Akil than he let on. Mosi warned Amara and Kofi about the dangers of the valley, but his intentions were unclear. Why had he appeared now? What did he really know about Akil's disappearance? The journey of Amara, Kofi, Ao, Tamba, and Mosi toward the Forbidden Valley was marked by a growing sense of uncertainty and mystery. The path to the valley, already known for its dangerous reputation, gradually revealed its threats and charms as the group traversed the vast savanna plains and entered the dense forest depths. Every step was a mixture of awe and fear, as the dangers of nature became increasingly apparent. While the air seemed heavier and charged with a mysterious energy, the group set off at dawn, with the sun rising behind the distant mountains, their silhouettes marking the horizon. Amara led the group with fierce determination. Her goal was to find her father, Akil, and understand the secrets surrounding the mysterious valley, but she also knew the journey wouldn't be easy. Mosi, with his enigmatic gaze and hunting expertise, stayed close, but his presence continued to generate distrust among the others. He had already revealed part of his true intentions. He was after an ancient treasure guarded in the valley, but Mosi's motivations went beyond mere wealth, something that had yet to be fully revealed. In the first days of the journey, the group traveled through familiar lands, known to the village hunters. However, as they advanced, the terrain became more inhospitable. The vegetation grew wild, and the silence of the savanna was replaced by unfamiliar sounds. The rustling of leaves that seemed to follow the group, and the distant song of birds they had never heard before. The path, which at first seemed clear, began to grow treacherous, and soon they realized they were entering a territory few had dared to explore. On the third night of the journey, they set up camp in a clearing surrounded by tall trees that seemed to lean over them, as if watching. The fire they lit illuminated only part of the surrounding darkness. The tension was palpable. During dinner, Ao, always suspicious, questioned Mosi about his knowledge of the valley. "You brought us here, Mosi, but why? Why would an experienced hunter like you risk your life for a treasure that may not even exist?" Ao asked, her voice firm but not hiding her unease. Mosi, who was sharpening his makeshift spear by the firelight, raised his eyes slowly to Ao. A short, enigmatic smile appeared on his face before he responded. "It's not just the treasure that brought me here, Ao. This valley holds secrets far older and more powerful than gold or jewels. There's something in this place that goes beyond what you can comprehend. I was here before with Akil, and now I'm back because he knew too that this place is not just a legend. He was after something big, something that changed him, and I need to find out what it is." His voice grew graver, as if he himself feared what he was revealing. The silence that followed his explanation was heavy. Amara, who had remained silent until then, felt a knot in her stomach. She knew there was more behind her father's departure, but hearing it from Mosi brought forth a new concern. What could have changed Akil? He, the most experienced and wise hunter in the village, had gotten involved with unknown forces? Tamba, always practical and calculating, who until then had seemed more focused on tracking the path, finally spoke. "If there's more to the valley than riches, we need to be prepared. We can't afford to be caught off guard," he said, looking directly at Mosi, his tone firm and cutting. However, Mosi's revelation wasn't the only thing to stir unease that night. Kofi, who had been Amara's pillar of strength since the lion attack, was beginning to feel the weight of responsibility. Since the attack, he had stood by her, always willing to protect her. But what they were about to face was much greater than any physical challenge. He knew that to get through it, they would need to be more than just brave. They would need to trust each other, something increasingly difficult with Mosi and the group. The next morning, with the first rays of sun, the group finally spotted what could only be described as the entrance to the Forbidden Valley. A massive rock formation, covered in dense vegetation, dominated the horizon. The air around it felt heavier, almost as if the valley itself was repelling intruders. As they approached, the group noticed markings engraved in the rocks, ancient symbols that seemed to tell a forgotten story. Mosi, who had studied these symbols on his first expedition with Akil, explained that they were inscriptions telling the story of the valley's guardian spirit, the legendary Golden Lion. The legend of the Golden Lion was something Mosi and Akil had studied together years before. According to the stories, the valley was protected by this spirit, a mystical creature guarding both wealth and ancient knowledge. However, those who sought these gifts would have to undergo a trial, a spiritual test that would reveal the true character of those who dared tread on its land. The group entered the valley cautiously, their breaths held as they passed through the rocks and thick vegetation. The climate was different here. The savanna breeze had disappeared, and the sound of the wind in the trees' branches was now a whisper that seemed to carry incomprehensible words. The tension among them was palpable, and they all knew they were about to face something that challenged both their understanding of nature and their deepest beliefs. Amara, her heart racing, felt she was getting closer to finding her father. However, She also knew that what awaited them inside that valley was far more dangerous than she had imagined. The guardian spirit was watching them, and the test they would face would soon reveal itself. The Forbidden Valley was an unknown land, and as the group delved deeper, a sense of mystery and tension grew with each step. The towering trees around seemed to suffocate the sunlight, casting long, distorted shadows over the path. The thick vegetation created an almost claustrophobic atmosphere where every sound, no matter how small, echoed with an alarming intensity. It was as if the valley itself was alive, watching their steps, whispering secrets in the breezes that cut through the thick leaves of the ancient trees. Mosi, always a step ahead, seemed increasingly at ease as they advanced. There was something unsettling about his behavior, a kind of familiarity with the territory that the others didn't share. He knew the dangers, the secrets of the valley, and it was becoming clearer that his intentions went far beyond rescuing Akil or protecting Amara. The treasure he had mentioned seemed far more important to him than the lives of those who accompanied him. But Mosi still kept his cards close to his chest, revealing only what he deemed necessary. As the journey continued, the group began to notice subtle changes in the landscape. The trees seemed larger and older, and the surrounding fauna was eerily silent. There were no signs of the typical savanna animals. No birds, no insects, not even the sound of small mammals moving through the vegetation. This did not go unnoticed by Tamba, the experienced tracker, who stopped several times to examine the ground and surroundings. Something is wrong here. There are no animal tracks, nothing to indicate this forest is inhabited, Tamba remarked in a low tone, his keen eyes searching for clues in the surroundings. It's as if life itself has left this place. Amara and Kofi exchanged uneasy glances. Amara, already deeply concerned about her father's disappearance, felt a mixture of fear and urgency. The closer they got to the center of the valley, the more intense her feeling that something terrible was about to be revealed. Kofi, always watchful, remained silent, but his body was tense, ready to react to any imminent threat. That night, they set up camp in a small clearing surrounded by trees with thick roots that seemed to emerge from the ground like serpents. The fire they lit seemed small and insufficient to fend off the dense darkness around them. The shadows danced in the trees, and the sound of the crackling wood was the only noise breaking the suffocating silence. Then, without provocation, Mosi began to speak. His voice was low, almost a whisper, but it carried a weight that made everyone around the fire stop what they were doing and watch him. "You must be wondering why I insisted on bringing you here," he began, his eyes fixed on the flames of the fire. "What we're looking for in this valley is something much greater than a simple rescue. It's a legacy, a heritage that was hidden here by the ancients. I was here before with Akil. What I found changed everything I believed." Mosi paused, observing the confused and worried expressions of the others. Amara, however, couldn't contain her curiosity and asked, "What exactly were you and my father looking for here? You said it was a treasure, but it's clear there's more." Mosi sighed, as if weighing his words carefully before continuing. "The treasure I mentioned isn't gold or jewels. It's something much more powerful, something that can change the life of whoever finds it or destroy it. This land is protected by a spirit, the Golden Lion, as you've probably heard in the legends. But what you don't know is that this spirit is real. It tests those who enter its domain, offering them a choice, power or redemption. Those who seek power can obtain it, but at a price. And those who seek redemption, well, not all are worthy of it." Mosi's revelation was met with stunned silence. Kofi, who had remained vigilant until then, could no longer contain his frustration. "And Akil? What happened to him?" Kofi asked, his voice firm but full of concern for Amara, who was clearly shaken by Mosi's words. Mosi looked at Kofi with an unreadable expression. "Your father," Mosi began, but hesitated. "Akil went deeper into the valley than anyone before him. He was determined to find something that would redeem him from past sins, something he believed could restore the balance between him and the spirits of the savannah. But something happened. He couldn't resist the test of the Golden Lion." Amara felt a chill run down her spine. Mosi's words echoed in her mind, and she began to question her father's true purpose on that expedition. She had always seen him as a courageous, honorable man, But now she began to realize that Akil, too, had his own demons to face. If he was truly seeking redemption, what did he believe he had done that was so terrible? Ao, always suspicious, crossed her arms and stared at Mosi. "And you?" she asked, her tone sharp. "What do you really want with all this? If you say this valley holds a test, why did you come back? This doesn't seem like the kind of place anyone would willingly return to." Mosi smiled darkly. "I'm here because I failed the test," he admitted. "The first time I came here with Akil, we both faced the Golden Lion. I chose power, and it almost destroyed me. But now, I'm back to finish what I started." Akil believed he could find a way to redeem me, but he lost himself along the way. Mosi's words brought a new dimension of danger to the mission. Now, they weren't just searching for Akil, but also confronting forces far beyond their understanding. Amara felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, but also a renewed determination. If her father had failed, she wouldn't. She would find him, and together they would face the Golden Lion. As the night wore on and the fire began to die down, the group knew that Mosi's revelations had changed everything. However, the true magnitude of what they were about to face had yet to be revealed, and the Golden Lion awaited them, hidden in the shadows of the valley, ready to test them in ways they could never imagine. The atmosphere around the group grew increasingly oppressive as they neared the legendary Spirit's Cave, a place revered and feared by the ancient stories told by the village's most experienced hunters. The descriptions they had heard before did not do justice to the grandeur and silent terror the cave exuded. The entrance's stone walls seemed to rise from the ground like massive stone teeth, covered in moss and vines that hung like natural curtains. The mist swirling around was thick, almost solid, seeming to envelop the adventurers like invisible arms. Amara, Kofi, Ao, Tamba, and Mosi felt the weight of the place on their shoulders, as if the cave itself was aware of their presence, waiting for them. The air was denser here, filled with a supernatural silence. There was no sound of birds, wind, or even the normal forest noises, only the muffled sound of their own breathing and the rapid beating of their hearts. The cave entrance was wide and dark, with ancient inscriptions carved into the stone walls. These inscriptions seemed to faintly glow, reflecting the light of the torches the group carried. The symbols were unknown to most, but Mosi, with his previous experience, recognized some of them. He pointed to a series of figures carved that depicted what appeared to be a great lion with glowing golden eyes, surrounded by kneeling humans. "Here it is," Mosi murmured, his voice almost a whisper in the face of the place's majesty. "The legend of the Golden Lion. This is the guardian spirit that protects the valley and those who dare face it." Amara, already deeply worried about her father's fate, felt a knot form in her stomach as she saw the figures. Could Akil have entered the cave and met the same fate as those carved in the stones? Doubt hung over her mind as they advanced into the cave, the torchlight barely illuminating the vast corridors ahead. The cave seemed to stretch infinitely, with its winding corridors and natural galleries that emerged from nowhere. There was something surreal about the place, as if time and space were distorted within its walls. The sounds of their footsteps echoed strangely, as if they were being followed by something invisible but at the same time familiar. As they advanced, they began to notice more inscriptions on the walls, figures of hunters and warriors facing mythical beasts, all guarded by an imposing golden lion. The carved narrative told a story of trials, where only the bravest and wisest were worthy of leaving the cave. Those who succumbed to greed, fear, or weakness were consumed by the guardian spirit, disappearing forever into the darkness. Kofi, always observant, was the first to speak after a long silence. "These inscriptions, they're a warning." He looked at Mosi, who continued leading the group with a somber determination. "What happened when you were here with Akil? What did you really face?" Mosi stopped for a moment, his expression hardening. He turned to the group, and for the first time, a shadow of doubt crossed his eyes. "We faced the Golden Lion, as you will also face," he said, his voice low and serious. "This place is not just a cave. It's a trial. When you enter here, your heart and mind are tested. Each of us faced something different, something that challenged who we were. Akil, he believed he could pass the test, but something happened. Something happened? Amara interrupted, her voice trembling with emotion. What happened to my father? What are you not telling us? Mosi looked away, visibly disturbed by the question. He sighed deeply, as if about to reveal a long-guarded secret. Akil was tempted, he admitted. Finally, the guardian spirit challenged him to face something from his past, something that haunted him. I don't know exactly what he saw, but the test broke him. He no longer spoke as he did before. His eyes were different. Before I could help him, he disappeared into the depths of the cave, and I wasn't strong enough to follow him. Amara felt a mix of despair and anger. The idea that her father, the man she had always admired as strong and unshakable, could have been defeated by something inside that cave deeply unsettled her. She knew she had to find him, but she also began to realize that the task ahead was much more dangerous than she had imagined. They ventured deeper into the cave, now with the environment becoming more claustrophobic. The galleries began to narrow, and the group was forced to walk in a single file. The silence around them was almost deafening. Ao, always alert, kept her arrow ready, her eyes scanning every shadow, every movement that might betray some danger. Tamba, with his tracking skills, tried to identify any clues that would indicate Akil's presence, but the cave floor left no evident tracks. Then, they reached a fork. Two paths opened before them, both equally dark and seemingly endless. At the center of the fork was a statue of a lion, sculpted from black stone, with golden eyes glowing in the dim light. The statue seemed alive, as if it were watching the group, evaluating each of them. At the base of the statue was an inscription engraved on the ground, which Mosi read aloud. He who seeks power must pay the price with what he values most. He who seeks redemption must face his own soul. Choose wisely, for once the choice is made, there is no return. A chill ran down everyone's spine. The warning was clear, but what did it truly mean? Which path would lead to the right destination? Mosi, in his desire for power, seemed inclined to follow one of the paths, but Amara knew her mission was different. She wasn't there for power or wealth. She was there to find her father. Kofi, observing the dilemma they faced, spoke up. We can't just follow Mosi without thinking about the consequences. This place is testing each of us, and if we choose wrong, we could lose ourselves like Akil. Amara agreed, but she felt she needed to make a quick decision. Her father was somewhere in that maze of stone, and time was running out. She felt that, somehow, the choice of path ahead would reflect what they truly sought. It was then that a faint voice echoed from the left corridor, a voice Amara would recognize anywhere. Amara. The voice was familiar but fragile, almost unrecognizable. She froze. It was her father. Akil was alive, or at least his voice still echoed through the depths of the cave. Amara's heart raced, and without hesitation, she began to follow the sound, ignoring Mosi's and the others' warnings. Kofi, ever loyal, followed her, knowing he couldn't let her go alone. Ao and Tamba, reluctant, followed closely behind, leaving Mosi behind for a moment. The errant hunter watched them depart, his face dark, before making his own choice. The cave, with its ancient secrets and spiritual trials, was about to test them all in ways they could never imagine. Akil's fate, and now theirs, was intertwined with the valley's guardian spirit, and the true nature of the test had yet to be revealed. The group divided when Mosi attempted to force Amara to reveal more about the path within the cave, believing she knew something he didn't. An intense struggle ensued between Mosi and Kofi, while Ao and Tamba tried to protect Amara. During the confrontation, Mosi revealed that he had been the one to push Akil into this dangerous quest for treasure, manipulating him into believing it was a destiny ordained by the spirits. Kofi, with his courage and skill, managed to defeat Mosi, but the hunter escaped, vanishing into the depths of the cave. Amara, now completely disillusioned, saw the path ahead as her last chance to find her father. In the heart of the cave, Amara and her friends found Akil, wounded but alive. He revealed that after a long search, he realized that the treasure Mosi spoke of wasn't gold or jewels, but a spiritual revelation. The valley's guardian spirit, the Golden Lion, appeared to those who sought power and tested them with moral choices. Akil had refused the power, But Mosi had accepted the spirit's corruption and was now a prisoner of his own greed. Akil was too weak to continue, but he warned Amara that the true battle was yet to come. The lion spirit would test all who dared face it. He begged her and her friends to leave before it was too late. Amara, Kofi, Ao, and Tamba decided to press on, knowing Mosi was still at large and they needed to confront both him and the lion spirit. In the cave's center, they found an ancient chamber where a statue of a golden lion gleamed with a supernatural light. Mosi, already corrupted by greed, tried to claim the statue's power but was confronted by the guardian spirit. The spirit offered a final test. Whoever accepted the power would have to sacrifice what they loved most. Mosi, blinded by ambition, attempted to seize the power, but the spirit destroyed him. Now, the test fell to Amara. However, she refused the power, saying that her only mission was to save her father. The spirit, impressed by her humility and courage, allowed them to leave safely. Back in the village, Amara, Kofi, Ao, and Tamba were hailed as heroes. Akil, still recovering, acknowledged that his daughter had overcome all challenges with bravery and wisdom. The village, now aware of the savannah's mysteries, lived in peace, knowing that the spirits of nature were powerful but also just. Amara and Kofi, united by all they had gone through, found a new understanding of what it meant to protect and respect the world around them. The story of the Golden Lion remained a legend, but everyone knew that the true treasures were the choices we make throughout life.